So what happens when you take a streaming setup that's worth £2,500 and go for something that is about 6 times less and stream with it for a week? Hey guys, welcome to the video. So I figured out after doing my studio tour in the last video that I decided that, you know what, it's not extremely budget friendly for the average viewer out there. So instead, why don't we just scrap all that and go for a complete budget friendly solution? You may ask what that looks like, and this is it. Now usually my setup would include the Rodecaster Duo, the Shure SM7B, SteelSeries 7P Arctis headphones, and a Sony a7 III with a lens with 24 to 17mm at a 2.8 aperture. But instead, this is what we're going for. The microphone is the AM8 from FiFine, along with the microphone arm, which is the BM88, which is the low profile one. I actually use this on a daily basis while at my computer. Instead of the Rodecaster Duo, we're actually going for the FiFine SC3, which is tiny in comparison. However, it can pack quite a punch, and I tell you one thing, it's dual computer friendly, meaning that if you're using one computer for gaming and one computer for streaming, you can actually use that mixer with this setup. However, instead of going for my Sony a7 III, I figured I'd chuck another item into the mix just to make it much more budget friendly. We're going to go with the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite, which is a 4K webcam and comes in at £180, so we're not really exactly stretching the budget here. And the light as well is the actual light I use for my streaming, which is the Andor EX60. However, it's not available, but I will give you an alternative solution for it as well. And you may be wondering, how does this setup look all together? Here's a little peek for you. And here we have exactly how the setup is. I streamed like this this week, which was just trying it out, seeing what it was like. And to be honest, it's a really good kind of build. I mean, for the price that you're going to pay for everything, even if you included like an extra £60, it's absolutely insane. And I'm pretty damn impressed with it, I'm not going to lie. And you may be wondering how much all of this costs. Now, with just the FiFine equipment alone, which is more than enough to get you set up on your streaming journey, you're going to look at full price £210. However, usually on Amazon, there are vouchers that you can apply to the items, or if you pick up a great deal, say for example, maybe on Black Friday sales or Prime Day sales, you can get it for about £20 or even £30 cheaper. If we add in the light, because Andor doesn't actually sell the EX60 anymore, I looked at much more of a smaller solution, which is the Cob Light from Andor, and it comes in around about £40 more, so you're going to be pushing your budget to about £250, especially if you've already got a webcam and there's no need for you to upgrade it. However, if you do want to chuck in the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite, just to have this full setup exactly the way that I did, you're adding another extra £180 at full price, so this entire streaming setup would cost you £430. Let that sink in a little bit, okay? The Shure SM7B is £350 worth by itself. The Rodecaster Duo is £400 by itself. You're literally getting an entire streaming solution that will last you a long time for pretty much the exact same cost as one professional, like the go-to for streamers use out there for many years now. So what did I think of this setup after using it? I was actually very impressed with how everything kind of tied together, and very quite happy with how it looked, to be honest. I was a little bit, because I've got my comfort zones, I know how my equipment works, I know what to expect from it. And I was a little bit scared in case, I was getting a little bit too much into my head and I may not have enjoyed using this. However, I can tell you without a doubt, it really did the job. And a lot of times as well, especially with the audio and the microphone, with the AM8 probably being the king of budget microphones in the space right now, you cannot deny how good it sounds. The OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite also packed in a punch too. Obviously, with low lighting in here and with the professional light, it looked great on stream. The only kind of thing I really would probably actually kind of take out of the setup would be the actual FiFine mixer. Now, there's nothing actually really wrong with it, but if you're on a single PC setup, you don't really need this. I mean, I was quite skeptical about using this mixer because I do have a dual PC streaming setup, but you can actually use it. And I did that by having the speaker cable going out from the gaming computer into the line in on the mixer. However, that then created a little small issue, because there's actually only one audio device on this mixer, which is the microphone. So if you've got anything going into it with the line in, that means then you have to level it out on the mixer itself, as it's only going to come through on the one output on your computer. It was a little bit annoying to begin with, but once I did a couple of test recordings, we got there in the end. However, if you are on a single PC setup, you don't really need this, because the microphone supports XLR and USB. Apart from the actual, if you're having another third thing plugged into the computer within a line in or a line out on speakers and you want everything to mix together and maybe some microphone monitoring, you don't need the mixer. Yes, it does have the funny effects into it, but I rarely even use them, and even I use voice mod on a daily use as well, but I found I didn't really touch them in the mixer. I found that like I came away from using voice mod while I was trying this out, and I wasn't really that bothered with them. The sampling sounds as well for the playback don't sound great either, and I actually did talk about that on my original review of the SE3 up here. So if you actually kind of take into consideration if we drop the mixer, that's going to be what, another £57 cheaper, which then if you were to actually just keep everything that I've got in this setup and just remove the mixer, you're pretty much going to be kind of breaking it down to about, I'm going to say, well, yeah, you're going less than £400. Less than £400 for an entire setup that you know you can feel comfortable with. Now there is some other things too as well, which is I don't like the bracket on the AM8 with a low profile boom microphone. Now if it was the overhanging microphone arm, it would look really good, which you can actually buy in a package together. However, I found just it's like another set of something, it's just not close enough to the mic arm. When I had my, usually what I've got with my Shure SM7B, I can place it nice, quite uncomfortably in front of me. However, I actually had to move the mic arm in order for this to at least be a little bit nicer. And with the fact that it's coming out from the side, the microphone twists, it doesn't look that neat on stream. It's just much more of a nicety, I'm going to say, in the long run, in a general sense for that. But another thing as well, which I actually experienced having this setup was, because it was a budget setup, I tend to kind of get out my head a little bit more while streaming. I wasn't really concerned about with how good I was playing. I wasn't really concerned about how it sounded, because I knew it was a budget friendly setup. So because of that, it just meant that I could enjoy myself. I knew, because like I'm usually very, very nitpicky in exactly how everything's set up and how all the levels are. And the fact that like literally this was all plug and play, there was nothing to worry about. For the first time in probably about a month, I didn't actually have any technical issues on my stream with this setup, which kind of says a lot, to be honest. I think as streamers, we often overcomplicate things for ourselves, which we don't need. This is just the setup that you actually should have going off the bat, especially if you're getting into streaming. And if you want to know more about these items that I've actually included in this setup, I've literally done a review on every single one on this channel. So please go and check the description down below to see each one, because it definitely goes into it in a little bit more detail, and you get some much more accurate examples of exactly how all this works. And when you bring it all together, it's such a nice little package. I mean, literally for £430, it's crazy. Drop the mixer and you're bringing it down to £380, which is even more insane. That's literally almost the same price as a Shure SM7B. You'd be crazy if you're getting into a streaming setup and you're not just building out this from the very start. You don't need the biggest and greatest at all. This is literally proving it. And a little part of me kind of was a little bit sad to see it go when I tore it down, when I went back to my usual setup. But I'm used to that usual setup, so therefore I will keep using that. However, I'm not going to be ditching any of this equipment anytime soon. It's handy to have. I mean, the microphone is literally sitting right here, set up behind me on my computer over here for when I use it on the arcade. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this was a good example of, if you're getting into streaming, of exactly what you can have off the bat without breaking the bank. If you liked the video, like it. If you want to subscribe to the channel to find out more videos like this, as well as possibly some more gameplay stuff coming soon as well, and subscribe to the channel. Very much appreciate it. But until the next video, I'll catch you. I'll see you then.